Go back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. If you need a roof, there's no better place to call than Ireland Contracting. 1-800-NEW-ROOFS. They're the best in the business. That's why they're #1 in Pittsburgh. They do roofs. They do siding. They do gutters. They do windows. They do anything you need. Give them a call, 1-800-NEW-ROOF. Give us a call right now on the Borders and Borders hotline, 412-575-2600. We're talking about Pitt and Penn State. Also, Le'Veon Bell coming up. And, you know, one of the questions I want to ask you about this Pitt-Penn State thing, this rivalry is going to end here. That agreement with Penn State and Temple. And do you think it's really because that Penn State, you know, they're in a no-win situation with Pitt? You know, they want to dominate someone. Do you think it's because that they're afraid to losing to what they call a, quote, inferior opponent?
Well, no, I don't think that's what it is. I mean, I think part of it is they thumb their noses at Pitt and don't want Pitt to get the feeling that they're rivals. But I think there's two other things at play. Number one, they only have 3 non-conference games every year. So, you know, that means they really only have room for, you know, 1 home and home every year. That's it. And so they've got alum all over the country. They've got alum in the South. They've got them in the West. They've got the largest alumni base in the country. They want their alums to be able to see their team. So in order to do that, they've got to spread the wealth, you know. They're playing Virginia Tech, you know. Well, down in Virginia, it's also a good recruiting area for them. But, you know, they've got a lot of alums in Virginia and in Maryland and in, you know, North Carolina. And, you know, they're playing Auburn. They've got a lot of alums in the South. I mean, it won't shock me if we hear about them trying to play UCLA or USC and, you know, go out to California. I mean, the whole point is, if I was running Penn State, I would play Pitt. I would play Pitt at least 1 home and home every 10 years. If they did that, I don't think Pitt fans could complain. If they had 4 non-conference games, then it would be ridiculous if they didn't play Pitt every year. But they don't. They only got 3. So, you know what? They want to spread those home and homes out.
Would the Big Ten ever change that, you think?
No, I think it's more likely that every conference is going to go to 9 at some point. Now, the SEC won't, because the SEC, their coaches would whine and complain and say it's not fair because the SEC is the toughest conference. Yeah. So my point is, we might not see the SEC do it, but it wouldn't shock me with the ACC. I mean, look what the ACC did in basketball this year. They're going to go to 20 conference games. Yeah. I mean, you know, and to me, I think that if you want to have a playoff system where there's a bit of subjectivity to it, at least everybody should play a uniform schedule where if you're in a Power 5 league, they should make rules. If you're in a Power 5 league, no Division I, AA teams or FCS, right?
On that one, yes.
Number 1. And number 2, you must play 10 Power 5 games, which means if you're in the Big Ten, you only need 1. But if you're in the ACC or the SEC, you need to play 2 Power 5 teams in your non-conference. To me, that would at least make it somewhat uniform, you know, because as it is, if you're, you know, there's some, I think Wisconsin is only playing 9. You know, they're playing their 9 Big Ten games, and that's it. There's a team in the SEC, I want to say, is only playing 8. And so it's just, you know, it's not.
Alabama did something like that last year.
It's not right in my mind. That's not right. So I don't really blame Penn State 100%. I really don't for not playing. They should play at least a home and home every 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that they could work something. I understand going to Philadelphia. I think there should be some kind of rotation where Pitt, Penn State, Temple all play each other. A 3, somehow you figure it out. Pitt and Penn State play 1 year, Temple and Pitt the next year, Temple and Penn State, and you do a rotation that way, home and away. And then you're
let me ask you this: what's in it for Temple to play Pitt? And vice versa.
Okay,
really.
You make a good point, but okay, so then you just do Penn State plays Pitt and Penn State plays Temple. I think it's good for the state that Penn State is in Pittsburgh and Penn State is in Philadelphia.
Well, and what I'm saying is, you know, you look at these games, you know, very few games happen just because they're going to happen. There's always got to be some reason why a game happens, for what, you know, recruiting purposes, this, that, the other thing. I mean, here's the thing. If they played 4 non-conference games, they could do a 2-for-1, or even maybe, I bet you Temple would do a 3-for-1, or a 2-for-1, you know, with Temple that includes a fourth year that's at a neutral site, like say in New Jersey. You know, 2 in Penn State, 1 in Philadelphia, 1 in like the Meadowlands or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could do that with Temple and then play your home and home with Pitt, and you still have, you know, you still would have opportunities to play home and homes with other teams. But they only got 3, so they can't do it. I don't blame them, and I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, it's not going to change as much as we whine about it, but I think that game needs to be played, and it's sad it's going to end here after next season. Let's go out to the phone lines. We're going to go out to Jim out in Jefferson. How you doing, Jim?
I disagree with Paul, and I disagree with anybody that says that game shouldn't be played. We're taxpayers in Pennsylvania. Penn State scheduled those games with Temple and Villanova, and they did it because they're in-state schools that didn't want to get criticized.
You know, Jim, you make a great point, and I agree with you. That's part of the reason they scheduled that, because I've been saying that you know, this is a state. The state should require this game. I know you're going to disagree with me, but Penn State should play a Division I team like a Temple and a Pitt every year.
That's fine if they want to do that. But remember, they also scheduled Virginia Tech, okay, which is the same conference, same time. They could have fit the Pitt program into that.
Why would they do that?
What do you mean?
They want to play Virginia Tech because because in Virginia there's a recruiting area in Virginia and a very large alumni base in Virginia for Penn State.
There's also a very large alumni base in Western Pennsylvania, and they also recruit here. You take care of your own.
Well, hold up, Jim. You don't take care. Their own is taking care of Penn State, not Pitt. I mean,
yeah, I think he's making a case for the taxpayers,
which is utter nonsense. It's a football game. I get it. I understand it. But you know what? Penn State football is basically a Fortune 500 company almost. Yeah. They print money up there.
But other
states
do whatever
they want to do.
Other states have required it.
But again, that whole athletic department is funded by the football program. So if the state came in and said, "Oh, guess what? You don't get any more money for, you don't get any more money for athletics or whatever," you know what I'm saying? They would be like, "All right, bye." You can't force them. I mean, again, why would they not go to Virginia, you know what I mean, a couple of years? People are saying, well, they should play Pitt those 2 years. They're playing Virginia because there's a very important reason why they're doing it.
Yeah, I get that. And you talked about maybe Penn State playing at a neutral site. They could always play Pitt at Heinz Field, Pitt at Beaver Stadium, and then Pitt in like D.C. And at least you're playing every year.
Yeah,
I know.
That would be dumb.
We're never.
That would be dumb. But go ahead.
Well, wait. There's D.C. It's where you need to go to recruit.
Because your fan base is here. If you're going to play Pitt and Penn State, you're going to play that game either in Penn State or here. Why would you go to D.C.?
I'm just saying if you're going to another place, because Penn State fans always complain about how Pitt doesn't fill the seats or whatever. So, and Penn State wants another home game. I don't know. I just want the game to be played. I don't care where it's played. I don't care if it's on the moon. That game should be played. All right, we got to take a break. Back with more of your phone calls. Some of your tweets coming up next. Stay right there.